Ultron is the best Avengers villain of all time when it comes to his appearances in movies, TV shows, comics, and now in video games like Marvel Rivals. In every version he is in, he is just the coolest and most menacing Marvel villain of all time. There is no other villain that exists that can strike fear into heroes like Ultron does. Ultron makes heroes like Iron Man and Captain America beg for mercy, and even gets strong enough to hear the Watcher, one of the most powerful characters in the Marvel Universe, and is the closest thing that you can get to a god level character in Marvel, which is honestly such a goated scene where this version of Ultron conquers the universe and sees the Watcher narrating his story. And this scene sends shivers down your spine for both the viewers and the Watcher, who's a god level entity.
The realization nearly broke the machine, sentenced to spend all of eternity alone.
Who said that?
Ultron ascended to a previously unattainable level of consciousness. He became aware of another. He became aware of the...
I see you. There are universes beyond my own.
But Ultron has so many other cool moments throughout history, but what separates him from other Avengers and Marvel villains is the fear he strikes into the heroes. Like other Marvel villains you can reason with, or maybe even try to find their weaknesses. But Ultron doesn't have any flaws. He is just that guy. Or should I say, just that machine. And Ultron being a machine makes him even more cooler since he is so calculated and heartless to every person who stands in his way. Like Ultron will beat the brakes off of Iron Man, one of Marvel's most strongest and smartest heroes, and then drop this golden line when Iron Man still believes that there's hope for humanity.
The end is here.
No. Still. Hope.
False. Hope is a human delusion.
Ultron really is just the perfect machine. Flaws don't exist to him. Ultron will always build a new, better body for himself, find new technology to upgrade himself even more, and even create an army of Ultron drones that are just as strong as he is. Which is just crazy to have an army that strong. And most of the times when you see Ultron drones getting taken down by heroes so easily, that's because they're just trying to make it seem like these drones are weaker than Ultron. But in reality, most of the time, these drones are actually super powerful and are definitely strong enough for a single Ultron drone to take out all the Avengers by themselves. Like sometimes Ultron will even have special grade drones that have the exact same powers of the original Avengers, or sometimes even stronger powers than the original heroes. And Ultron does this just to flex the fact that anything that is technology belongs to him. Like imagine not only having to fight Ultron, but also have to fight his special Avengers drones. Yeah, time to pack it up. That is a fate worse than death. And in the animated movie where Ultron has these special Avengers drones and was wreaking havoc upon Earth for decades, the only reason he ends up losing was just because Hulk was there to stop him. And if you know anything about the real Prime Hulk and what he is capable of, not this fraud Hulk we got in the MCU, you would know that being defeated by Hulk is probably the biggest compliment you can get for a villain, since Hulk is the ultimate powerhouse for the Marvel Universe. And even though Ultron gets defeated by the Hulk, Ultron still puts up a pretty good fight against the Hulk and even knocks him down at some points. But what makes Ultron even more menacing is that even if you somehow defeat Ultron, he will always come back. Since he is an AI robot, he can repair himself infinitely as long as he has the right materials, and will just find a new body to inhabit, which is just insane. That's why if you're a superhero group that even manages to defeat Ultron, which is already a hard task in the first place, they will have to find a way for him to never come back, like throwing him to space, or like how in the Avengers Age of Ultron movie where they use Vision to destroy the whole AI system in general. Which even though I'm not a fan of the Age of Ultron movie and this version of Ultron in general, I do have to admit that this Ultron was dropping bars throughout the whole entire movie. Like the first time he appeared, he had such a creepy tone to him. He was dropping Disney quotes and it was sounding menacing and so eerie.
I had strings, but now I'm free.
And there are so many iconic lines in this Age of Ultron movie that go insanely hard, like Ultron's meteor speech.
I think a lot about meteors, the purity of them. Boom, the end, start again. The world made clean for the new man to rebuild. But, like the men said, what doesn't kill me just makes me stronger.
As well as the time Ultron absolutely struck fear into this random nurse.
Scream and your entire staff dies.
Like, this MCU Ultron was just ore farming throughout this whole entire movie and was on demon timing. The only problem with this Ultron is that even though he was ore farming this whole movie and was dropping goaded lines, this version of Ultron really couldn't back it up since he had trouble taking out the Avengers group throughout the whole entire movie, which in my opinion, I wish the Age of Ultron lasted longer than what it did in the movie, but it definitely had good moments for this version of Ultron, but this version of Ultron was definitely noticeably weaker than every version of Ultron. But a version of Ultron that was able to have these cool and menacing moments, but was also able to back it up with his pure raw firepower was the What If Ultron. Now, I love this What If Ultron, and he's honestly so goated. I've glazed him ever since he came out. This version of Ultron has the exact same identical backstory as the MCU Ultron, but they fixed all the problems the original MCU Ultron had. The MCU Ultron had problems that made him feel not quite like Ultron, like giving him temper tantrum when he was compared to Iron Man, and giving him a really out there personality in general, since it really doesn't make sense why this Ultron would have such a big personality since he is a robot after all. And even though they fixed his personality, they as well fixed his overall design, because the MCU Ultron doesn't really look cool to me, and his OG design is just better in general. But this What If Ultron fixed all of these problems and even made him better than most of the versions of Ultron. Like, this version of Ultron shows how truly powerful Ultron can really be, with beating the Avengers easily and conquering the world in just a couple of days. And this version of Ultron also getting his perfect body like how he planned to in the original MCU movie. And this version of Ultron doesn't stop at conquering Earth. He then goes on to defeat Thanos in just one beam, and then takes all of his Infinity Stones, which is crazy disrespectful since we all know what he did to get all of these stones. Like, this version of Thanos was sacrificing his own children to get these stones, and Ultron just snatches them like he's taking candy from a baby. Not to mention, this Ultron then gives himself new drip with these reality stones and gives us one of the best Ultron suits of all time. This Ultron design is definitely one of the best Ultron designs of all time, and we definitely need it in Marvel Rivals. Not to mention, they also gave this Ultron a cape, which already just makes him so much cooler, since anyone who wears a cape just automatically gets free aura points. Like, you cannot name me a character who doesn't look cooler in a cape. And then this version of Ultron spawns in an army of Ultron Jones with just the wave of his hand, since now that he has a reality stone, he can pretty much create any army he wants. And then Ultron goes on to take over the universe, destroying the Guardians group, and even destroys Asgard, the planet with literal gods living on it. And Ultron packs up all these teams and all these gods with pretty much no effort. And after What If Ultron destroys or conquers every planet in the universe, Captain Marvel has to step in, and Captain Marvel stepping in is a pretty big deal since Captain Marvel is one of the strongest characters in the Marvel universe, who's probably the closest one who can rival Prime Hope besides the Sentry. But even though Captain Marvel is super strong, Ultron just blasts her, and the blast Ultron uses on Captain Marvel sends a shockwave that destroys not only her, but the rest of the solar system. And after What If Ultron annihilates the whole universe, he loses all hope and is now an AI without any purpose. He's just standing there in the abyss with nothing left to do. But then we have one of the biggest fumbles ever, because then the Watcher starts speaking, starts narrating the story of What If Ultron. And since at this point Ultron had gone so strong, he actually starts hearing the narration of the Watcher, which is just such a spine-chilling scene. Like, if you're the Watcher, you have watched countless universes, and not once has any other person has ever even noticed your existence. I was the Watcher, I would be absolutely horrified. Not to mention, the Watcher thinks that he can just ignore Ultron. He just stops looking at that universe and says, alright, I'm not gonna look at that again. He pretty much said, out of sight, out of mind. Then Ultron literally breaks through reality to fight the Watcher in a different dimension. And now that this What If Ultron sees that there's other dimensions, you've given this version of Ultron a new purpose: to conquer every other universe. And then this Ultron proceeds to have an amazing fight with the Watcher, which is honestly so peak because they are throwing some insane hands and are punching through literal dimensions. And of course, my GOAT What If Ultron wins because he is just that strong. And the Watcher literally runs away and needs to gather heroes throughout dimensions to defeat my GOAT. But even though What If Ultron is a great new version of Ultron and gives us a new great take of the Ultron story, there is still nothing that can beat the classic Ultron. And the next Avengers Ultron is just a perfect example of how goated the original Ultron is. Now, the next Avengers Ultron is an Ultron that came from an animated movie that is similar to the original story of Age of Ultron, where he completely defeats all the heroes on Earth and there's pretty much almost no people left. And the only remaining heroes on the planet are the children of the original Avengers. And this Ultron is on demon timing throughout this whole entire movie. And this is just how Ultron usually is. Like, this version of Ultron has cameras around the whole entire world. There is no place safe for anyone. Ultron will find you and Ultron will take you out. There is no place safe for you while Ultron exists. Like, this version of Ultron is so brutal in this version that as soon as he sees kids existing on Earth, he immediately tries to take them them out.
Children. Unexpected. Assessment. Potential threats. Commencing termination.
Not to mention the voice of this Ultron is honestly so goated and perfectly shows how robotically calculated Ultron is, as well as how menacing his voice can be. Like, this is definitely the closest thing we can get from an accurate Age of Ultron story when it comes to a movie or TV show that has come out, since all the other movies and TV shows usually have a twist to the stories, like Infinity Ultron, where they kind of change the story a little bit, while this animated version of Ultron is just more of the classic goated version of Ultron you see in the comics. But even though Ultron is goated in both movies and TV shows, Ultron is now even goated in video games. Like, what space can Ultron not dominate in? Ultron will forever be the best villain in all of media in general, since he is now in Marvel Rivals and they nailed this Ultron look, because not only did they go to the more classic Ultron, they definitely modernized it for this Marvel Rivals game to fit in line with all the other Marvel Rivals redesigns. Not to mention his skin in the shop is heavily inspired by Infinity Ultron as well, with the cape and the mask. And even though this version of Ultron in Marvel Rivals gameplay is not broken like other healers in this game, he's still very goated on his voice, on his gameplay loop, and I still will get him lured in this game because he is my favorite Avengers villain of all time. So if I'm in your game, you better hop off Ultron because I'm playing him. But hopefully he does get buffed, because you could not have Ultron not be the best character in your game. Like, he should always be the strongest character in any movie, TV show, or video game. Ultron will forever show us why he is the best Avengers villain of all time, because of his unmatched aura and the pure fear he strikes into all heroes and to the viewer as well. But let me know what is your favorite Ultron down in the comments below. Mine will forever be Infinity Ultron, since it gave us such a fresh new take on Ultron that we hadn't gotten for years. But the next Avengers story is also so goated as well, because it is such a classic version of Ultron. But also don't forget to like and subscribe, because 99% of the people who watch my videos aren't subscribed. So don't be that 99%, be that 1%. Hit that subscribe button. Hope to see you guys next time. Later, hater. Peace.
If that's not the way to go.